Hi, welcome to Horror Girl. I am going to today do a review of The Cursed, the new movie, and share a wonderful cocktail recipe with you that I created based on the movie. Okay, so this review will have spoilers, just FYI. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to know, majority of what happens, maybe don't watch this. But if you just want a review with some spoilers from a true horror movie buff, then you're in the right place. And of course, if you want a cocktail recipe. So let's talk about The Cursed. I will say I went into this movie not entirely knowing what to expect. The trailer didn't really give away a ton.
We've all dreamt of silver that has cursed this land.
Judas asked, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?"
It showed some images, kind of gave the impression that there was going to be some kind of monster or creature, but really was kind of subtle, let's say, or cloudy about what the movie was actually going to be about, which is probably what intrigued me, honestly. But I didn't know because it was coming out in February. That's generally not, maybe the best time for a horror movie to come out. Not necessarily when the best ones will come out, although, to be fair, some good ones have come out in the early months, right? But generally, it just was not the greatest sign for this movie. But I went in with an open mind, and based on the trailer, I was excited to see what this movie was. So it really did start in an interesting way, because it's not entirely clear what's going on.
They've sent for me regarding their son who's gone missing.
Right? It starts with a war in France, and you see someone get shot, and when he goes to the medic to be treated, the medic is pulling out all the various bullets, from his body, and he finally pulls out. One bullet has shattered, and he's pulling the fragments out, and he happens to pull out a silver bullet that is also in the spot where that one fragmented. And you're just like, what is going on, right? So you don't really know. And then the movie takes you back 35 years to England. I think there is sort of a misconception going around that this movie takes place in France. It doesn't. It starts in France, but it takes place in England, Victorian England. So I will say that this movie is probably not for the faint of heart. It's very, very brutal at the beginning. You just have, pure brutality to get into it more. I mean, they basically set a gypsy village on fire. They shoot a bunch of the gypsies. They keep 2 alive. And the reason for that is that they're an example, right, for anyone else who might try and come and take these villagers' land back, because the land belonged to the gypsies, right? And you do see one of the gypsy women, one who's used as an example later. You see her with these silver teeth, and she's doing some kind of incantation or talking about something, and she's like, protect us, right? Give us protection. So you know that these silver teeth are important, but you just don't really know what they're for. Anyway, so they murder those two gypsies as an example, right? And so that part is especially brutal. This sounds bad, but I haven't been seeing a lot of real gore and brutality recently in horror movies. I feel like a lot of them have been toned down. And I'm not saying I love that stuff, but it does kind of make it a little more visceral for me. It brings the movie alive. And I was, wincing during this part, not enjoying it, but it got me very involved with the movie, and it was so brutal that it kind of set it up for the rest of the movie, right? You understood why things were happening to the villagers because of how brutal they were with these two gypsies. That being said, so everybody in the village starts having the same dream, and specifically they're dreaming about these two gypsies that where an example was set, and they're dreaming about these silver teeth, and they were buried with the female gypsy who, set the, protection thing in place. They're buried with her. And so everybody in the village is having the same nightmare, if you will, about these gypsies, about these teeth. And of course, as usually happens in movies, right, the children are the ones who unearth these teeth and basically set the curse in motion. And I would say what happens after is definitely a punishment for what occurred with those gypsies. So I sort of had an idea, like a vague idea of what the monster might be when I saw the preview for this. I had a guess. I thought it might be a werewolf, right? And it turned out I was right. The monster in this movie is a werewolf, but it's really unlike any werewolf movie I've ever seen. They did it in a completely different way, and debating whether to actually tell you what they did, because I think people need to see this movie. I think it's that good that, I want it to be successful. So I don't really want to tell you what they did that was so different. Suffice it to say, it was something you've probably never seen before. I'd never seen it. And it was a really fascinating way to approach werewolves, and just different from anything I've ever seen. And so that, and the movie itself, right? The atmosphere they set up, it was just so spooky, foggy, misty. I was basically on edge the whole time because you just get sucked into the world. You get sucked into this, what's happening, right? And so it made a very memorable film, and the acting is brilliant. I mean, everybody in the movie is really good. I think the script is really good. It's just a very tight movie. And I will say I wanted to see it again, like immediately after I saw it. That's how good it was, because while I was watching it, I would pick up certain details, like they had like a wolf statue in their main foyer, right? And I thought that was super cool because it was just a little detail, right? And I feel like there are probably a lot of those, and I just didn't catch them. So I think what I just wanted to see it again. I wanted to see if I'd missed anything else, but also I just had so much fun while I was watching it that I wanted to do it again immediately. And that doesn't generally happen. Usually I see a movie, and if it's good, I'll be like, okay, I'll see it in 6 months again when it's out on video or whatever. When it's this one, I just wanted to immediately go back and see it again. So that really doesn't ever happen. So I don't want to completely spoil it because I do want people to go see this movie and experience it for themselves. And I honestly think it's going to be a sleeper hit. I think it's going to be one of those things that maybe not a lot of people see in theater because it's February, right? But I think it may come out on demand or on Amazon Prime or what, and people are going to see it then and be like, whoa. And, you know, it did win a Sundance Award, so it's definitely a good movie, and it's definitely worthy of your time and if you see it in the theaters, your money. Even if you rent it, it's worth it. I think it's part of that new breed of horror movies we're seeing now, which I'm super excited about personally. For example, Malignant, I think that we're seeing a lot of creative movies coming right now. There was another one, the name of which I'm blanking on now. Shoot, it was all taking place over Zoom. I watched it last Halloween actually, and that was brilliant too. And so I think we're just getting a lot of these more creative movies now, and that's really exciting. And so that's definitely how this one felt. Like it was sort of continuing with this trend of like creative new movies, right? Yeah. So the cocktail that I created for this movie, which also will be relevant to my next movie review, which I think I'm just gonna do with this one because they're called the same thing, right? But this is the cocktail I created for The Cursed, and I was trying to meld elements of England, France, and werewolves, right? So what I did, and when I created it, I was like, this might be awful, this might be a terrible idea. Turned out it's actually really, really good. But what it is it's, and I don't worry, I'll put the recipe up and I'll post it in the about section, description section of this video. But essentially it's 1.5 ounces of gin and 1/2 ounce of everything else. So 1/2 ounce cachaca, 1/2 ounce grenadine, 1/2 ounce creme de cassis, 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Yeah, I think that's everything. And shake it in a shaker with ice, and the cachaca is a silver bullet. So essentially it's a werewolf cocktail. I call it the silver bullet, and the silver bullet is the cachaca. And I really think it adds something. It's so good. Alright, so let's move on to our second movie that we are talking about, because the cocktail relates to it, but also it relates to The Cursed. And that second movie is Cursed. So, you know, we get home from the theater. I think it was a few days later. I just was still feeling the werewolf thing. I really wanted to watch another werewolf movie. And I remembered, I think somebody may have mentioned it. We were watching like a review of The Cursed, right? Somebody may have mentioned this one. And I thought, oh, you know, I haven't seen that movie in like 15 years. Let's watch it, right? If you don't know that, it's Cursed. It's just called Cursed. It stars Christina Ricci and some other people. It's a lot older. It's I want to say like 2008 or 2007, something like that, right? So I'm like, let's go ahead and watch it because it was free on HBO Max. Okay, so I wanted another werewolf movie, and I'll admit I kind of forgot that it was by Kevin Williamson, who did Scream. I sort of blanked on that part, but you know, I noticed a lot more this time because I was paying more attention. And I did remember, okay, I guess the best way to put, I remembered why I forgot this movie. It's a fun romp, and it definitely doesn't take itself seriously, except when it does. I know that sounds weird, but basically I would liken it to Drag Me to Hell, but not as fun or as scary. it's actually hard to explain because I'm not sure the writers knew what they wanted when they wrote this movie. And obviously, again, these are the people behind Scream, and Scream is so good. It's irreverent and satirical while still being scary and excellently executed, and I just can't say the same for Cursed. And if you haven't seen it, again, probably some spoilers coming your way. Essentially, it starts out with a carnival and a psychic who's played by a young Portia de Rossi. And she's telling these two girls that they're in danger. And they, of course, are like, whatever, haha, we don't, you're just, whatever, you're a stupid psychic at a carnival. Why should we listen to you? But then we're immediately catapulted into the story of Christina Ricci and her teenage brother. And we find out that, their parents died. We don't know how, but they died. And so she takes care of him and their dog now. And anyway, they're heading home and they essentially hit something with their car. They don't know what it is, but they're in the Hollywood Hills, and so they hit another car and the other car goes off the cliff. And if you pay attention, if you care, the other driver is one of the girls from the carnival. So anyway, they go down to try and save her, but she gets hauled off by something, they don't know what, and they both get bitten and scratched in the process of trying to save her. And things start to happen, and the brother does research and essentially says, oh, okay, we're turning into werewolves, right? And nobody really believes him. Nobody listens to him. Like, he goes to talk to his sister's boyfriend, Joshua Jackson, who's, I can't remember his name in the movie, and he's like, yeah, right, whatever, nobody listens to him. I guess the problem is I didn't really care that they were turning into werewolves, and the werewolf graphics, CGI effects are just so bad that, I will say I was scared a few times, but I think the graphics are so bad it kind of takes you out of the moment. Like, you're just, I don't know, because after seeing The Cursed, which had excellent creature effects, it's really hard to see this one and just see how bad the werewolf is. So anyway, I did jump a few times, I will admit. But I would say overall it's kind of boring. The only part I cared about was their dog, who also became a werewolf. I was really concerned about their dog, but I am an animal person anyway. So anyway, long story short, turns out that Christina Ricci's love interest, Joshua Jackson, previously mentioned, is basically the OG werewolf, and he turned an ex of his into a werewolf, and
I didn't ask for this. It was just a hot night with a guy that every girl in town wanted. Lucky me. Should have been more careful, though. I got a little rough in bed and wound up cursed by the mark of the fucking beast.
She is now taking revenge on all of his potential love interests or people who he's hooked up with, including Christina Ricci, right? She's just basically jealous and she'll cut a bitch. So, it's a clever angle for a werewolf movie. I'll give it that. I've never seen one like that where it's like, oh, it's, the bitchy ex-girlfriend who's taking down all the potential love interests.
And fat thighs. And bad skin.
But there were two climaxes, which was kind of weird. So basically you get all amped up because they're fighting this girl werewolf. But then they also have to fight her love interest because he is upset that they basically want to kill him. They don't want to be werewolves. And the way to not be a werewolf anymore is to kill the original werewolf, right? And he just gets really upset and he wants to kill them all. And so there's essentially 2 climaxes, and they drag on for a while, and I just stopped caring. I just didn't care. And I feel like movies like that make me a little sad because it definitely had potential, but it didn't manage to reach that potential. You know, in Scream, you kind of care about the character. At least I did. I cared about the characters. I was sad even when Casey, Drew Barrymore's character, died at the beginning, because she died within feet of her parents, and to me that was really, really sad, you know. It was compelling because of Sydney's backstory, because her mother was murdered, and you don't know who did it, but you think it's that Cotton guy, but you're not sure, and like, so she's got an interesting past, and then Scream is funny, and it legitimately had scares and, you know, a twist surprise ending, right? And so I think they were trying to do Scream, but with werewolves, and it just didn't pan out. It didn't work the way they wanted it to. So, which is sad, because I think, again, there was a lot of potential there. It just didn't come to fruition. Anyway, those are my reviews of both The Cursed and Cursed. I highly recommend you see the first one. You can see the second one if you want. I would recommend seeing it on HBO Max because it's free. But either way, you can enjoy this cocktail with both of them because it relates to both of them, since it's a silver bullet cocktail. And you won't need this for the first one. I would recommend drinking this for the second one so you can get through it and actually enjoy it. But not that it's bad. It's not that bad though. That's the thing. It's not terrible. It's just not great, right? It's sort of in this weird in-between, like, limbo thing. But I do think a cocktail would help get through it. So I highly recommend making my yummy cocktail that I created for The Cursed. Anyway, that's been two horror girl movie reviews and a cocktail. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment. You know, did you see The Cursed? Did you like it? Other movies you think I should watch or review or whatever, create cocktails for, you know, let me know in the comments. I definitely will respond and read them. And yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.